Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or as we've shortened it to IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association, and as part of our efforts to promote play, we do Porch Play Chats. These are conversations with people who are just as passionate about play as we are. To learn more about our Porch Play Chats, go to ipausa.org. In that top right-hand corner, subscribe to our YouTube channel and be a friend on our Facebook page. And every Monday, magically, another Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. So on the porch with us today is Lisa Murphy, one of our board members. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
And joining us is Carla Ward. And Carla is an early childhood educator and the founder of Early Learning Foundations, a business dedicated to education and enhancing the work of early childhood educators. She's held a variety of roles in the education field for more than 17 years. She's a certified wonder-based educator, which I want to hear much more about, and brings a sense of wonder and passion into every aspect of her business, from hosting the Everything ECE Podcast to workshop development to digital course creation, as well as running a full-time online tutoring business. Carla loves to share actionable and inspiring ideas with fellow educators, both in and out of the classroom, to help support professional practices in early childhood education. So Carla's topic today is building a sense of belonging within our programs, talking about welcoming transitions and the environment. So what is a simple action all educators can do to welcome a child into their program, Carla? This is such a great topic.
Thank you for having me on. I am so excited.
And Carla's in Canada, by the way.
Oh, yes. So, and it's very cold today. I'm not impressed. And I'm looking behind Lisa and it looks lovely.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's fake. It's totally fake.
No, Lisa's is not fake. Mine is fake. Lisa's is real.
Well, I mean, both of you have already done exactly what the first step is that educators can take. And that, it sounds simple. It's saying hello to the child when they arrive at the program. It is something, it sounds simple. You say hello to somebody when you see them. But I've noticed, especially during the pandemic, there is so much for educators to do. You know, you've got to sterilize this, clean this. So what happens is your head might be down and you're cleaning the table, a child arrives and you kind of look and in your head, you've acknowledged the child, but think about, you really haven't, right? And think about when you arrive at a restaurant and it says, please wait to be seated. You're kind of in this limbo between the parking lot and your dinner. And you're standing and waiters and waitresses are walking by you and they're not really acknowledging you because they're not the person that's supposed to take you to your seat. So you're lost. And it's kind of the same for a child standing at that doorway of, okay, so am I supposed to be here? Am I welcome here? So that simple of like, stop, look at the child, smile. I mean, please smile and say good morning. Like already you've started the day off on this positive note of, I'm so glad you're here. Come on in, right? And everybody, I don't care if you're an infant or you're 100 years old, everybody deserves to be greeted and welcomed into wherever they are.
I think early childhood people need to be reminded on a regular basis that's enough, right? That it doesn't need to be more than that. It needs to be at least that, and that is enough. Right? It doesn't need to be fancy. We don't need to have like balloons and confetti the minute you walk in the door. A pause and an acknowledgement. And I'm not sure what the data would be for Canadian parents in a childcare program, but here in the United States, one of the biggest constant feedback from parents pre-pandemic, I have to clarify that, is we just want to be acknowledged when we walk in the door, and we want to be more than just David's mom. A hello and a goodbye, if nothing else. And you're spot on, Carla, when you say, you know, that first 5 minutes of the day is going to set the tone for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a bit of a person, like I'm a bit of a big deal. Like I really crave that hello, good morning. Like that is something that I need because I'm human. We all need it, I think. But even when I receive a text message, if you don't say hi to me in your first text message of the day, I will send you a hi right back because I'm human and humans deserve to have connection, and connection is how we grow. And that sense of belonging, you can't learn if you don't feel like you belong.
100%.
Right. And our goal as educators, yes, is to educate. But how can you educate somebody who's not open to learning because they don't feel like they're supposed to be in your program?
So during the pandemic, a soundbite that's probably been around for forever, but I, honest to God, I had not ever heard it before. And now I think I use it at every single gig, is that children do not care how much you know until they know how much you care.
You care. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes, that's so good. I haven't heard
Where
that.
the hell have I been? How come I did not know this one? And I even kind of paraphrase, not paraphrase. I put an asterisk, like, because I'm not a cheesy soundbite. Like that's not my MO, right? But this one is so spot
That's
on.
so
Those
good.
kids don't care how many hours you spent putting together that lesson plan, how much you prepped for circle time. They don't care at all. And not to hijack your conversation, but I'm about to. Kids can smell BS a mile away. So you can hang up all those
1000%.
posters. You can hang up all that. We all belong here. We're all friends here. And then you look at that kid and you're like, oh, I'm so glad to see you. And the kid's like, well, you're the worst liar ever. You know, they can tell.
They really can. Absolutely. And don't you want to feel like you yourself belong in your program? I mean, you are with these children all day. You are that family outside of the family. These children come in. Don't you want to be liked and cared for just like the children? And the number one human need is to feel safe, right? So if children know that you truly care, they're going to feel safe. That's the number one human need. You can't move past that if they don't feel safe.
So Carla, I teach early childhood educators in the first 2 years of their 4-year degree. And one of the things that is interesting to me is I say hello to each one of them. And some of them come like 35 or 40 minutes early before class starts in the beginning of the day. My first class starts at 9:30 in the morning. I need to be in the classroom by 8:45 because some of them need to come in early. Some of them at 45 minutes before the class starts are still waiting on the couch outside the classroom. And and there are other students who are on the couch who are there early for their classes that are not mine. And I walk by and say, good morning. And they all look at me and say, good morning, like, oh, thank goodness. Yes. Somebody sees me for who I am. But it is really important for adults to have, just as you were talking about walking into a restaurant, there have been times I've walked into a restaurant and not been acknowledged, and I turn around and walk out.
I've done it.
But children don't have that choice.
No, they don't.
And so
the other piece, though, hi, hold on, I'm interrupting you. The other piece is that early childhood providers need to be better at working through their own stuff so that they are willing and able to receive all the pieces of that child and not just the characteristics and the temperament that they like or that makes them comfortable, right? So as much as there's always that one kid that's very easily, into your fold. And then there's another kid that, the one that you wish would get chicken pox and all of that kind of stuff. But what about the angry day and the sad day and the upset day and the frustrated day and being just as comfortable as making room for those parts of the kid, not just the nice ones.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And I laugh because usually the ones that some teachers wish would get the chicken pox usually land up being the students that I absolutely love being around because they're your strong-willed and once you make a connection with those strong personalities, like that's an unbreakable bond because they're like, you get me. And I think because I was a strong-willed child, they will always have a special place in my heart because I love to argue everything.
Well, and I think that's what's so important. I think both of those comments, we have, just because they may look different, they may act differently than what you were raised in. Your expectations of them may be higher than, maybe you're not open enough to recognize that every child is an individual. Every child has their likes and dislikes. Every child has a different temperament. And embracing the child for who they are as an individual, instead of, oh, well, here's my favorites. And I have had teachers tell me I have favorites. And I'll say, okay, why? And they'll say, well, they're more like me. And I said, okay, so what about the other, 22 children in the classroom? She said, well, I just don't have a connection with them. And I said, then you need to spend more time with them.
Yeah.
Because you need to have a connection with every one of them.
Absolutely.
And I think we struggle with that because of our own experiences. And it goes back to what Lisa was saying. You really have to deal with your stuff, right? If the child who screams at you because they're frustrated with you, and you were raised in a home where adults were respected and children never talked back, that's your stuff, not theirs. And so you've really got to
Go to therapy. That's what you got to do.
No, you got to go to therapy.
Honestly, everybody should be in therapy.
Well, I agree 100%.
If I could afford it, I would be seeing it every week. Like everybody has something
to talk to. Yes.
To unpack and at least read Tamar Jacobson's books. I always love to give Tamar a shout out when possible. Don't Get So Upset. Everyone Needs Attention. Those are just two of her books, but definitely Tamar Jacobson.
And she really hones in on that. Yes, it's a good reflection because she really makes you see your stuff.
Absolutely. And I'm a Wonder-led, I'm a Wonder-based, or now Wonder-led certified educator with Sally Hoy. And one of the practices that was really, really encouraged when we were taking our program was, can you write down the name of all the children in your program at the end of the day? And most of us will forget one or two. And that one or two, those are the children you need to make sure that you make contact with the next day.
That's a good exercise.
That's a good exercise.
I love that. And because, you do your class list and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm missing one. Probably because you didn't have a moment of connection with that child that day. So it needs to be a point of action the next day to make sure that every child is seen and heard, because it can't always be the loud child that gets your attention. And it can't always be the child that's the most like you. And I know my personality. I don't want to be around me all the time. I'm already part of that, right? It's making sure that every child is seen and heard. And that's where the environment comes into play as well, is because you need to be yourself authentically, but you also need to, as an educator, be able to adjust to the different personalities in your room. Right? You can't be short fused with one child and calm with another if they don't match the personalities. And the same goes for your environment. Do you have a calm area where, the child that is not, that is maybe dysregulating? Do they have a space to go calm down? Do you have an area for a child that needs to get more energy to go let that out? So paying attention to your environment as well. Does it serve every child in your program? Does it also represent every child in your program? So looking at your books, your toys, do you have the family photos? So, perfect example of parents wanting to be acknowledged. Are parents allowed to cross the threshold of your door? Are they welcome into the classroom? I would hope so too. And I know that some people are like, well, we've got stuff to do. What do you have to do? The kids are there all day. Invite the families in, because it's not an us and them. We're all trying to work together for the same goal of helping a child succeed, right? So we need to be on the same team. You can't necessarily go to their homes, but they can come into your classroom.
Yes. And they should always be welcome anytime. right? Anytime.
Absolutely.
And the only caveat I'll put on that is that there are still actually some schools who are working within COVID parameters where the
That is
children
true.
are dropped off. But that is 100%, I would hope, a situational, at some point that's going to relax and go away. I used to tell parents, any place that makes you call and announce that you're coming, that is a big old red flag.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's a bad place, but I would really, really, really want to do a little unpacking of what the intention is behind needing to give somebody notice, that you're about
That you're
Absolutely.
coming in. Yes, exactly.
And
So
you make a very valid point about COVID. So the question is, how do you bridge it? So, okay, the parents cannot physically come in. So how are you inviting parents into your classroom? I mean,
Right.
we're in a time of technology
Yeah.
where we can do videos. We can walk around and say, welcome to our classroom. This is what we're doing today. There's no reason
no excuse,
why
right?
we're shoving the kids out the door. Bye, they had a great day. Like, you can't see what's going on in our room. No, let's invite them in a different way.
yes, excellent. Yes, because using technology in a classroom, I really like and trust me, I don't like technology for children in a classroom. So we're going to put that aside. That's a whole nother bucket and a whole nother day. But if you have tools like, you have an iPad, and the iPad you have one of the parenting apps where you can take a photo of the child and send it off. I remember I think it was, Aren't You Glad You Have Childcare? So Lisa and I have been going back and forth. That's another thing we did to raise awareness. Aren't you glad you have childcare? And we would send parents to work with a balloon and a sticker that said, aren't you glad I have childcare, to employers, right? And we did that. That was another one of those advocacy things that we would do every year. And parents were happy to do it. But if we also sent, and back then we didn't have this kind of technology, if we also sent a picture their child had painted or something that their child had done with them with their balloon, then they would hang that up on their in their office. And people would comment and say, oh, so it was also unintentionally a good marketing thing for us, because they would say, where does your child go? That I really like what, and they would say, and then we get some of those parents in, but that was not the intention. The intention was to help employers recognize that their
if I didn't do my job, you wouldn't be able to go do your job. Exactly.
Oh, my wheels are spinning right now.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm like,
it was, and it was, I think it was, I want to say it was an orange sticker. Aren't you glad I have childcare?
Oh, but I'm bumped.
Yeah. But yeah. And then we give them a balloon. So, there are things that we have to do to raise the public's awareness about the work that facilitators, I really hate the word educator, because I think people then think we need to do flashcards, right? And worksheets. But that the facilitators in the classrooms with children are doing. And so those parenting apps where you can send them a picture now or text them and say, so-and-so did blah, blah, blah today. You'll never believe it. This is what they told me about it. And the parents laugh, and it creates a connection with families, because you're not just their child's teacher, you're sharing what their child is doing. And it's not your child bit 4 children today, right? It's not that. It's a positive way to promote parent relationships as well as building those relationships with children.
And the closer we get to creating environments that are 100% play-based and child-centered, you take away the excuses, right? Oh, I don't have time for that. I have to get ready for circle. Oh, I don't have time for that. I have to da 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 da. When we're creating places where the children walk in the door, choose where they want to play and explore, and can stay at that until they're done. And maybe there's a few non-compromisables, right? Maybe I for whatever reason, I have to be on the yard at 10 o'clock. Okay. And I have to have lunch at noon. Okay, fine. But then the rest of the day is 100% child directed. I got nothing but time to deal with she took my shovel, or let me take you on a quick video tour of the classroom and share that with all the parents. There's nothing else that requires your attention. And lately I've started telling people, my job is to paint a picture of the ideal environment, and your guys' job within the confines and the parameters of your specific program is to figure out how close can I get to that, and what am I holding on to just because it's familiar, not necessarily because it's best practice.
Oh, 100%. When I started out, I was a theme-based teacher. That's what I went to school for. We were taught in themes. And it took a while to, okay, it's October, let's get the pumpkins out. Nobody cares. Nobody cares except me. So it's dropping those certain inside the box thinking and start observing, right? And those apps. Now it's funny. I love the word educator because for me, I'm trying to switch the word that play is education, right? So I use the word educator and play together to try and get people to switch that thinking that when your child is playing, they are being educated and they are learning. And that's where those apps come in, because, you snap a picture, you send a picture of the child building blocks, working on our counting. So-and-so counted all the way to 11 today while playing with blocks. Yay, math. Right. So we're using it to promote play, promote that your child is learning while they're at school. We're not just babysitting your child. First of all, we never sat on a baby. And this is all happening while you're at work. So we've got you. You don't need to worry.
Yes. And I hear that parallel. I think in the US, unfortunately, we've been dealing with No Child Left Behind for way too long. And so education in the US seems to be pushing down. What they did in second grade goes to first grade. What they do in first grade goes to kindergarten. What they do in kindergarten goes to the 3-year-old group, which is what we battle against. And so when we are talking about getting children ready for life, not ready for kindergarten, I think that's where the difference in how our countries have approached early childhood. Here we struggle to allow children child-initiated time to play because our teachers think they have to get them ready. The kindergarten teachers are saying they have to do this and this and this and this and this. The kindergarten teachers are hearing from the first grade teachers they have to do this and this and this and this and this.
And not to politicize, make it political, politicize it, is Canada ratified Article 31. And the United States does not. The United States does not believe, theoretically, that children have the right to play. So,
the only country in the world,
that hasn't ratified it. And so other countries have this political leg to stand on to some degree, where your country has acknowledged publicly that children have the right to play. So to some degree, then you're able to build on that because that is accepted at a government level. We don't even have that. So most people in our profession, well, unfortunately here in the States, a lot of people don't even know what Article 31 is, but that's a whole other conversation. So we might still be working from a place of believing what is embedded in Article 31, but we don't have that political leg to stand on. And I think to some degree that has been that, and No Child Left Behind, and Race to the Top, and and it doesn't help the situation.
Well, and 100%. And the other big pieces is in the US we don't have the social safety net, that I feel like other countries do, Canada being one of them, where,
unpack that. What do you mean by that?
So here we have to struggle to get food stamps for families. Here we have to struggle to have some acceptable form of reimbursement for low-income childcare. And it's a pocket of money that's not near big enough. Here we have to struggle with families having access to high quality childcare versus what they can afford. Here we have to struggle with individuals who may not have the education that they need to be a good facilitator in an early care and education program. And so, not that other countries don't have struggles, but it's almost like we don't look at crime, for example. Why is there so much crime in this low income neighborhood? We just say, well, we need to put all those people in prison, instead of we need to bring in the resources, work with the community to figure out what will help them. We don't do it from the bottom up.
No,
Lots of things happen from the top down. And
So
so
I
they think they
love
can,
that Canada looks so good on paper.
yeah, yeah, right. I know it's not
I'm like,
perfect.
wow. I'm like, is this my country?
Yeah, it's not
Wow.
perfect. We know, but it's truly a different climate. I want to say that, early childhood education is the promise of the future. Yes, but not the way they see it. It's the promise of the future because we can push down all this stuff and kids will do better in school later. That is what we fight against all the time. So it's very, very, so coming from the International Play Association and the struggles that every country has struggles with this. But coming from the USA, we feel like our profession has been hijacked by people who don't understand child development. And so that is what we struggle with all the time. It's not what's best practice, it's what they think will get them to the end that they want, which is really sabotaging everything that they're trying to accomplish. I don't think their intentions are always bad. I just think it comes from a place where they don't understand child
But
development.
they're also not asking. They're not asking to understand.
Right.
So as educators, teachers, we crave learning. We want to understand. We want to understand, why little Freddie is doing this, or we want to understand, why a team member is not themselves today.
Mm-hmm.
And Canada sounds great, by the way. Would love to say that I'm living what it sounds like. It's unfortunately not the case. We are still fighting left, right, and center for, the respect, the funding. As someone who owns a tutoring company all the way to grade 12, I see that push constantly. Like I'm battling with a teacher who's threatening to take marks off because if a child doesn't write the brackets correctly on a math test. And I'm like, hold on a second. Are you going to get the mark if you get the whole question wrong, but the bracket's written correctly? Because we've lost sight of what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's this constant battle, but the government's not asking the right people. And until they want to hear it, they're not going to ask the right people because they don't want to hear the answer.
Right. They know that they're going to be told something different if they actually ask the people who have their hands in the pie.
Absolutely. And then they're going to have to do something about it. Right? Like if you put your hands over your ears, you don't have to hear what you don't want to hear. Exactly. But when you remove your hands, now you're going to hear it. And now you've got to do something about it. And they don't want to.
They don't want to. Right. Well, and I, again, I hope it's not all bad intentions. I think some of it is they think, oh, this is what we need. This is what we need. But again, they're listening to the wrong people. I know it's that all the way.
No. It's
money.
Oh, and it's money. Yeah.
Money.
Oh, yeah. And we're blowing through it really fast over here. So, yes.
Carla, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And I think the lessons are that we need to acknowledge every child.
Yes.
And if you don't like them, spend more time with them.
Yes.
Because they are likable, we promise. And if you spend more time with them, they may not have as many episodes in your classroom because they actually think you like them, right?
So I'm going to toss a couple things out. One of them is another a Tamar quote. She said, "Every single behavior is an attempt at a connection. 100%. Every single behavior. So if you allow yourself to see that thrown block, that push on you, that poke at your face, if you allow yourself to see that child is attempting to connect with you, maybe you won't have that initial reaction to the behavior, which is going to allow you to start to make those connections. And the other thing that I'll say, this maybe we'll have to have Carla back and unpack this, but at the end of the day, I don't need you to like all of them. I don't need you to love
No.
all of them. I need you to respect them. I need you to make room for them. So it's not about getting to a place, I think, of liking or loving. It's getting to a place of making room for them, even if what they do is different than maybe what you think should be happening. And I think by that level of relaxing into it, you will come to a place of falling in love and having that likeness. It's going to take a little bit of time, but if you think it's going to happen, one day of sitting down and playing Legos with a kid, you gotta be realistic as to connections take time.
And
how
they have
boring
to
would it
build
be?
trust.
Yes. And how
absolutely.
boring would it be if we were all the same person?
That's right.
Right? Like if we try to make every child like us, the world is not, first of all, things are never going to be invented, created, discovered, and we would be bored.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would be so bored. And it's for older, but I think it's just as relative to early childhood education is Rita Pearson's video of Every Child Needs a Champion.
Oh, I love that video.
Right? It's one of my absolute
year.
favorites. Me too. I send it to my team every year. It is my absolute favorite. And it just reminds you why we do what we do.
Yes, she is fabulous. She's
Say the name
on
again?
YouTube.
Rita Pearson.
Yes. And all you have to do is go on YouTube and search Every Child Deserves a Champion.
Yeah.
It's amazing. She'll pop right up.
Yeah.
She's amazing. All right. Well, Carla, stay right there while I close this out. So
thank you so much.
We're so glad that you came. To learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.
Bye-bye.